There is another twist in the Patrick Brown saga. The whistleblower whose allegations got Brown kicked out of the Conservative leadership race is speaking out. Longtime Conservative organizer Debbie Jaudoin put out a statement where she says she was told she could be paid by a private company and volunteer with Brown's campaign, but that she soon started to worry the arrangement wasn't okay. This comes, she says, from conversations directly with Brown. She also says her expenses on the campaign were paid by a corporation. Now, Brown's campaign has said it believes she was just volunteering outside of work hours and did ultimately offer to pay back the company. Here to break this all down for us, Kory, former campaign director for Doug Ford and co-founder and CEO of Rubicon Strategy in Toronto. And previously at the Calgary Stampede grounds, I think we've got you home now, Enterprise Canada's Erika, Barootes, former president of Alberta's United Conservative Party. Welcome to you both. I will say, Kory, I want to start with you. I did actually just get a letter from the Brown campaign, the next step in this saga, but there's a lot of moving parts. Let's just start, Kory, with this whistleblower. She's given her version of events, including talking about specific interactions that she had with Patrick Brown. What is our takeaway from this? What does this add to the story?
Well, I think it adds a lot of clarity that was missing 24 hours ago. We now know who the whistleblower was, and a lot more details about what the transgression was. So, you know, I think a lot of additional transparency. That's, I think, good for the party overall. To my eyes, this is a very clear violation. This is something that hasn't been allowed for many years in Canadian politics. You can't have a company make a donation or a donation in kind to a political party. That's not news. I'm surprised that was ever a question in Debbie's mind, because that's not a new rule. But it's clearly a violation. Like I see no ambiguity around it.
Well, Erika, so I want to talk to you a little bit about last night when this statement came out. We heard from the Brown campaign. They actually shared a letter that they had sent to the party last week, in which they said, listen, there might be one incident. We really thought that this woman was just volunteering in her own free time. But now we're realizing maybe that's where the concern is. And in that case, we'll pay back the money. This kind of thing happens all the time. And now there's a letter today in which they say, and I've just received this just as the show is going to air. This is from Patrick Brown's lawyer, Marie Heenan, saying, we have read Ms. Jaudoin's statement. It is our view there has been no breach of the Canada Elections Act. So they don't agree with you there, Kory. And that they want to move forward on their appeal. They're expecting an answer, they say, by 12 p.m. Saturday, July 9th. This is a letter addressed to Ian Brody, who is, of course, the chair of the Conservative Leadership Organizing Committee. Whole mouthful there, Erika. But what I want to know from you is, I guess, do you buy it? What do you think of their explanation?
Yeah, I would say, well, I agree with Kory as well. So I do think it was in a breach, and I think it's a situation of a campaign trying to, help their brand and the situation that they're in. They speculated that this might be the whistleblower or the situation, and in fact it was. And, Debbie has now come out as a whistleblower, and that's very courageous, just given that, that puts her in a position. But she, I think, did the right thing to come forward. And now we're in a place where, they're kind of like grasping at straws to try and defend themselves and demand by a certain time, where from my understanding and from all of the documentation that's been shared by the party, there has been efforts to work alongside the campaign to resolve this. And now to me, it just seems like that they're trying to dig themselves out of a hole.
I think it's pretty clear where you both stand, but Kory, I do want to ask you about one specific aspect of what the Brown campaign is saying about this, because you understand how campaigns work, and this does sort of get into the backroom stuff that most of us don't see. They said specifically in their comment to media last night, as happens normally in campaigns which involve literally thousands of people working across the country, issues relating to volunteers, organizers, and lobbyists are raised directly with the campaign, and an opportunity to address and remediate the concerns is given. So basically, like, this happens, normally we kind of fix it quietly. Is that accurate in your experience?
I don't think that's accurate. And I'll go one step further. What the Brown campaign and what Patrick Brown said, the other day on this show, was that this was coming from Pierre Poilievre's campaign. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that was not truthful. This came from an organizer within his own campaign team who blew the whistle on it. So, like, I got to say, when it comes to speaking truth, Patrick Brown has not done himself any favors in his reaction to this. It threw a lot of dust and a lot of smoke in the air around this, but clearly this is a violation. Like, you don't have to have worked on a lot of campaigns to understand that you can't give gifts in kind through a corporation or a union or any other organization that's prohibited from making political donations. Like, that stuff used to happen once upon a time. It's been well understood for many years now that that's not allowed.
Erika, they're clearly still pushing forward. The Brown campaign is with this appeal, with this lawyer's letter. What do you expect will come of that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I mean, there is a legal process, and, Kory's talking about, it's a breach. It's not just a breach on, the rules of how you operate a campaign, but with Elections Canada. And my understanding is that's where it's now headed. But, they're going to push forward for an appeal. That happens when candidates usually get disqualified. It is unfortunate that this happened this late in the game and in the election cycle, because it does ultimately also hurt the party brand. Mm-hmm. So now the party needs to work on going through another due diligence process to make sure, and doing their due diligence to make sure that the appeal is deemed fair, if they are the body then which decides that. And, and then the Brown campaign is going to use every resource, including the legal action that they've started to use to try and position themselves as not being guilty of what's being put forward.
Yeah, Kory, you sort of alluded to this earlier, that it was more transparency, and there'd been a lot of pressure on the party, or certainly some pressure, to be more transparent about them. It had been one of the key criticisms in all of this. I wonder if you think the party's reputation has taken a bit of a hit in this process, even though obviously you are not so credulous of Patrick Brown's explanation in all this.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised they didn't put out more information right off the hop. Now that we know what it is, I think there's a lot more clarity. I certainly understand much better now why the decision that the organizing committee for the leadership race took. I think it's a clear violation, and I think the stories and the spin that's being put on this by the Brown team is just not credible.
Okay. Erika, last thought from you just about the race going forward. What do you think is the most important thing to watch, I guess, moving forward from this?
Yeah, I do think, the party needs to pivot and focus now on the race, rise above from this, allow the due process to happen, but really focus on, the candidates that are still in the race to not be focused on that, and focused on what their vision for Canada is, and how they're going to position our party to be successful going forward. And I think that's, this will be a couple days. It'll still loom. I'm assuming that the Brown campaign tactics will continue for, another week or so. But I think from a party membership standpoint, people are ready to move on and focus on the actual race and hear about candidates, not getting into the weeds of another campaign, but what they're going to do for the country and for the party.
Okay, we're going to leave the conversation there. Thank you both so much for your insights, Kory Teneycke and Erika Barootes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.